Let's do it.
Hey, all right. Hey, welcome everybody to for the love of dance, for the love. I should say it right. It's my show, for the love of dance, and I have Rudy here, here to talk about his dance life. And he was just telling me about how for the love of dance is something that he not growing up, growing up, used to talk about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what well when I was growing up in Miami, our studio, that was like our slogan, like for the love of dance. So I just,
That's so
full
cool.
circle moment. Here we are, doing a little podcast for the love of dance.
Yeah, I picked it because I feel like for the love of dance is like obviously for the love of dance, but then also you have like it's kind of like a curse, like for the love of dance. It's like a replacement of a bad word, which is what I used to use it for. Like
Oh, word.
for the love of dance, point your feet. Like that was always my
Yeah.
way of not being too bad aggression wise. So like it's the opposite for me. Yeah. Very cool. So, you started out at a dance studio then?
Yeah, I started out at a dance studio when I was like real young. I started when I was 8.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay, that's
and my
pretty.
first my first dance class was a hip hop class, and I'll be honest with you. I walked in and my parents were looking at me from the window and I looked back at them and I was like, no. I was like, this is not for me. Get me out. I do not want to be here at all. And how funny. One week later they were like, yo, do you want to go back to that hip hop class? And I was like, yeah, I'll give it another try. And then I fell in love with it. And
Was
yeah,
it
so I
the
started at the
same
studio.
teacher both times?
Yeah, with the same teacher
Okay,
both
I
times.
just wondered if it
Yeah.
was like the first teacher
I
was
think
someone
the
you're like,
first time
nope.
it was like just hard. Like the first time it was like a really hard class. They like threw me into like it was like an older class
Hmm.
and I was 8. So I was like just like no, 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 like this is like way too hard. And then the following week I had taken like a beginner class with the same teacher, but it was just geared towards younger kids and it was beginner, so it was a little bit easier for me to pick up and I had a little bit more of a fun time. So yeah, it was good.
That's cool. Did your parents suggest dance, or were you like, I want to do hip hop?
Well, actually, no. Like so I played baseball for like a really. I actually continued to play baseball for like a couple of years after I started dancing, and I was playing baseball, and my cousin was like, "Yo, you should try this hip hop class like at my dance studio," and I was like, "Nah, nah, 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 I'm not. I don't want to do it." Then I went and I tried it, and what's funny was one of the other male dancers in the class was on the same baseball team as me.
Oh,
And
cool.
he used to keep it as a secret though. So he even came up to me. He was like, "Yo, listen, do not tell anybody that I'm a dancer." And I was like, "Why, bro? It's so cool." But you know what? I was like, "Okay, I won't. I won't say anything." But yeah, but that actually. So my cousin kind of suggested it. I tried it. I didn't like it. Tried it again, and then like I was like, "Oh, this might be kind of cool. Like this guy does it also." So I was like, "Let me let me keep doing it. Let me see what's up." So
What position did you play in baseball?
I played I played catcher, then I played third
I like that you're
base.
saying you played. I played. It sounded like you're like playing at. I played pretend
Yeah,
catcher.
I did. It was a 10 for sure. Oh, how funny.
Oh, cool. So then you was that at Dance Town? Was that where you started hip hop?
Yeah, that's where I started. Well, that's actually like I mean, I learned everything at Dancetown. I started hip hop and then went into ballroom and jazz and ballet and contemporary and all the styles of dance, flamenco.
And if you don't
Um,
know Dancetown, Dancetown is a dance studio in Miami, Florida. And they have a lot of boys and men that dance there. So it's like a big male program and always kind of has been. So I could see how like a boy at 8 would go there and see other boys, and that's kind of exciting. Whereas there's some
yeah,
studios that don't have that kind of opportunity.
yeah, and it's actually it's really cool because um, you know back in the day it was very well now in
Back in the day,
society.
90s is what you're talking about? Or
No, just like like in 2000, like 2001, 2002, still like I was still kind of um dancing wasn't as accepted as it is now for
mm,
guys to do, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not that it wasn't accepted, it was just now everything is a little more open, everybody's a little bit more open to everything. So um it's easier to be like, yo, I'm a guy and I'm a dancer. And but we're back in the day, you would say that, and people would like kind of like make fun of you or whatever. It was nice to go to dance town knowing that like all of the guys were like, yo, like this is what we do, and like, it didn't matter. So it was really nice to kind of have a place where you could kind of go and like have people like you, that was like, it
It's
was,
always nice
yeah.
to go somewhere where people like you. It's,
You know what I mean? No, like there are people that are like you,
oh, are like you. I thought you said that like you. It's like,
No, there
yeah.
are people that, well, that too, but no, but people that are like you,
Yeah.
where like, they just, maybe you're a little bit more of a manly guy, and back in the day they didn't, you were like, oh, I want to be a dancer, and people were like, nah, but everybody at dance time was like, yeah, we're gonna do it. You know what I mean?
That's really cool. And it is good for people to hear because there are kids that listen to this that, like, if you are a male, you can still do baseball and dance. Like, no one's saying that you
Exactly.
can't do a sport and dance because dance is basically an artistic sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have to be very athletic for it. So you did hip hop at 8, and then when did you, like, that same year you got into other forms of dance, or?
It was about like 1 year later. It was maybe like when I turned like 9, 10 years old. Maybe it was like maybe 2 years later. I started doing everything. Um, my best friend, who's like still my best friend of today, Nick Garcia. We
Mm-hmm.
did So You Think together and everything. So like we, I first started hip hop. Then he came into the studio. He started doing hip hop. Then he like was the guy that would like do ballet and ballroom, and I was like, maybe I should try it. So then I like tried it maybe like a year later, and then
Are you
that was
older
it.
than Nick, or is Nick older than you?
I'm older than Nick,
Okay.
but he was a little more like fearless when we were younger. So yeah.
It was So You Think You Can Dance the first television show for dance that you did, or your first, like, big gig?
Actually, no. So when we were so very cool thing to be a part of Dance Sound, because we did a bunch of TV shows growing up. So
Mm-hmm.
we did a TV show called Live to Dance with Paula Abdul, which was like I was 15, so that was like 11 years ago. And that one was my first job, or
And
my
what was
first like,
that? What was that like? What was
oh,
the?
that was, oh my goodness, like
Was it
I remember
live or
buying.
pre-taped?
You said what?
Was it live or pre-taped?
Oh my gosh, honestly, I don't even remember. I think it was live. I think it was live, and maybe the auditions were pre-taped, but like the shows that happened every Tuesday were live. I'm pretty positive. Um, but man, what a thrill when you're 15 years old and you're, doing things like that. It's really crazy. I just remember buying, like, I got this per diem
Mm-hmm.
and buying a pair of red Dr. Dre solo beats. And I was like, yo, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I want to be a professional dancer on a TV show forever. Mind you, it was like $200. But like, 15, you're like, yo,
My
200
first
bucks.
my first dance gig that paid was, like, I was like 10, and I got a couple hundred, and I just remember being like, "Mom, can I buy candy with this?" She's like,
Yeah.
"It's your money," and I was like, "Candy, yeah." That's literally all I spent all my money on. What? I didn't
How
save any of
funny.
it, but it's fine. Yeah, I did. So your first dance was with Paula. How was that? Because I've actually worked with her. She can be elaborate and exciting and over the top, right? Did you get to some things people I think don't realize with dancers is different singers work differently, where some of them,
Yeah.
and also every gig is different. It's not necessarily the singer's fault, it's their people or the show or they're busy, but sometimes you don't really get to meet the famous person until like the day before they come in, fill in the blanks of their choreography spot, and then they bounce.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get to hang out a lot with them if you're on tour. It all varies. So with the Paula experience, did you guys like get to hang out with her at 15? At least get like a photo? Not that Instagram was a thing yet, but
Yeah, well, we had photos. We would see her every once in a while. Like she would like pop into rehearsal,
mhm.
or like when, for example, like our second week there, it was like a dementoring week or whatever. So we got to like spend a little bit of time with her.
Cool.
And I would say that even after the show, we actually got to like hang out with her. Her relationship with Manny and Lori they were really tight.
Cool.
So like I remember like even after the show, um, she like did like a movie night or something in LA with all of us, because we were doing America's Got Talent the following year. So she took all of us out to like a movie theater, and like we all like got to hang out with her for the night. So like yeah, with her, I mean, I feel like the experience was really cool because we did get a chance to like kind of hang out with her a little bit. And at that age, you're like starstruck, you know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, this is Paula Abdul. Like, what?
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome that you guys got to do that. Okay, so that was your first big gig. You bought these fancy red shoes and you're like, baller.
Let's go.
Did you tell people at school that you were a dancer by then, or no one knew yet?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knew I was a dancer. Honestly, I didn't care. I like my friend was the one that he didn't want anyone to know that he was a dancer. But for me, like, no, I didn't care. I actually used to just take the people making fun of me, and I had a lot of that growing up. Um, but it didn't really bother me. I feel like with things that you love, like you shouldn't lie about how passionate you are about them. You know what I mean? And like I love dancing, so I never lied about that. Everybody knew I did it.
Good. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. It also, I think the ladies probably in high school, like,
Oh yeah,
I'm assuming it
well
was.
actually, eh,
Really?
it was, yeah, like it just depended. Like I was also, I'll be honest, I was very like weird, like in high school. It wasn't until like maybe like 11th grade that I like kind of like got into like my like cool side.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I was a little bit of an awkward, sheltered child for a little while. So, um,
What kind of awkward or shelter? I do think that dancers have a tendency, and this is just my own thought process, but I do think dancers have a tendency to be sheltered in the beginning
yeah,
because you are literally dancing 7 days a week, maybe five.
that's
And you're
that's what it
so
is.
busy, you don't know that, like, I didn't know that kids hung out after school until seventh grade. And I remember the day I found out about it because our dance class was canceled because of snow, because I'm Canadian. And I
Hmm.
just, like, kids were hanging out, and I was like, what are you doing? And they were like, we're just hanging out. I was like, wait, after school, everyone doesn't just bust it to their career choice of their future. Like, I had no
Yeah.
idea that like people didn't have a trajectory already. Like, I was like, what do you mean? You just hang? That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I mean, listen, like, I think that's mad crazy. I didn't really have a lot of that either. You know how it is, like you go to rehearsal, you go to dance class, and I think that's really what it is, like for many years it was like you go to school, and I went to private school growing up, so you got your small little, handful of friends, and then from there I would go to dance, and it was like that every single year for since I was 8, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but even like I think when I was in 11th grade, like, and I started to get a little more like I kind of stepped out of that awkwardness. It was less because I was still doing the same routine. I just like I don't know. I like found sort of confidence, some sense of confidence, and it like changed the way I approached my friendships in high school, or like the way I would try to make friends in high school, you know what I mean? Um and then the ladies, then they started coming after that.
All right, boys. So hear that. Uh, so then you did Paula. Then you guys did America's Got Talent.
Yeah, we did. So we did America's Got Talent the following year,
Hmm.
which was super cool. We got to go back to LA. We got to do a whole like I think it was like 2.5 months, like 3 months of just like dancing in LA and creating. And honestly, I have like a very like traumatic story. When I was in LA and Manny like screamed at me, and it was just so crazy. But I look back at these times and I'm like, yo, if it wasn't for times like that, I wouldn't be the dancer, choreographer, mentor that I feel like I am today.
And did Manny yell
But
at you in English?
it was a little bit of both. It was like Spanish and English. So that's how he was mad, yo. He was so mad.
What did you
Oh,
do?
okay. So actually, I was like, this was like my first like taste of fame, because when we did Live to Dance, I was always like kind of like in the back, like I was like the little chubby boy that like wasn't very talented, so like whatever, like. But this one number, I was in the center for like 2 seconds, and those 2 seconds of the number, he switched me with another guy, and I started crying in rehearsal. I was so sad. And this is 15, 16-year-old Rudy. And he's like, why are you crying, Papo? Why are you crying? Do you have a problem? And I was like, no, Manny, no, I just, no, no. And he's like, why are you crying then? And bro, I just like, I had to stop crying, and I had to realize, sometimes what you think is the best for the group isn't what's best for the group. And even if that means you gotta like suck your ego up and step to the back because you're not pulling up, you know what, you gotta do what you gotta do. And in the end of the day, it's more important what the image is for the group than it is, your own personal feeling,
Of course. And that's a hard lesson to learn as a dancer, especially I think when people are used to being the best kid at their studio and then they get into the actual career of dance and then they get kicked to the back and they're like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yes.
I'm better than this other person. And it's
Yes.
like, maybe in your mind or maybe at that one trick, but it's not like what it is,
Maybe in your maybe in your mind. How funny.
It's true. It's true. So you did and you were out in LA for that. What is that experience like doing that show? Like, do they host you up in a house with everybody from the
It's
same
like
team?
it's like a hotel.
Okay.
It's like they put you up in a hotel and everybody has like, so for example, like we were minors, so a lot of the people on the cast was a minor, so our parents would go out. So it would be like me and my friend Sean, and it would be my mother and his mother, and we would have a room.
Okay.
And then it would be like, you know what I mean, like that.
So your
So they put
parents
us up
had
in
to
a hotel.
really be invested in for your career too, because they had to basically not go to work during
Yeah,
them.
yeah. And like also like you gotta think about it too. Like a lot of these dancers also, I mean, like I have a sister, I have a brother, a lot of these people have brothers and sisters too that do other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like they gotta put a pause to come out and like do this for us. So yeah, the parents definitely gotta be invested.
Yeah, it's really interesting how much your parents help your career go along, and also like really. I mean, my mom was very, very supportive of all of this, and I would never have done anything without her. Like, it's a very humbling like thing to think about. Like, wow, you stopped everything for me. That's like
Yeah.
so nice. It's something that
Yeah.
I don't always think about, and I should think
I
about it
always
more.
try to tell my kids like make sure my students that you say thank you to your parents and like make sure you show that you're grateful, because I feel even when I was a kid I took it for granted sometimes, and I don't ever want like any of my students to make their parents feel like that. So I'm always like, yo, make sure you guys say thank you, because you don't realize the type of things that they sacrifice for us,
And
to
dance
do
is
these to
expensive.
do.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap. It's
And
expensive.
time too is time is the most expensive thing.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about money and costumes and competition and that and all these things, but it's like all the extra time too,
Yeah.
mad expensive.
Dropping you off, picking you up, making sure, yeah, that you eat.
All the weekends that we have to fly you to conventions and take you to this for your fitting and here and there, and oh, you need point shoes by 3 o'clock, and I have to make sure that
You did point?
oh, not me,
Oh,
but
I
my
was
sister.
just like visualizing that. I was like, what? I would love to see you in some point shoes. They should
I'm
make
sure we can make that happen.
yeah.
I can put some on and like figure it out.
Yeah, now I want someone to invent point shoes that have like a little flip down heel that comes out. So it could be like a stiletto point shoe. That would be
Word.
somebody out there invent that, because
You go
I
from
would.
being a point dancer to a ballroom dancer. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, or like that'd be so fun. Ballroom is one of the hardest dancing in my opinion to do. Joey always tries to teach me how to do that whatever walk, and I cannot. Joey DeSantino, and I
Yeah.
cannot do it. To say, I look like a raptor every time I try, like crossing my knee over and walking. I'm always like, this is ballroom is not for me. I wish it was, but it's such a sexy, sensual style of dance, and I make it look like the most archaic, terrifying dance
Oh
style.
no.
No, I love it. I don't have a problem with being bad at things. I don't think I enjoy being bad at things.
How funny. How funny. I'm sure you're not bad at it.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sure I
sure
am.
you're not bad at
I know I am. It's okay. You can ask Joey. He'll let you
it.
know
You
that.
testify?
Yeah, he will. He will. Okay, so you did America's Got Talent. You guys got close to the end, right?
Yeah, we made it to the top 10. We made it to the top 10, and then
And then how
uh,
many dances did you have to do for that then?
um, I think we did like 3 or 4.
Because that's a lot for a big group to have to learn. I'm sure you guys had some under your belt already, but then like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I many choreographed all of them basically, like, because the thing is, the thing is this, they basically give you the tracks, right? So like
oh,
back
they
in the
give you the
day,
music. Cool.
Yeah, so like back in the day, they would give Manny like, okay, here are the 10 or 15 songs that are cleared. What song do you want to use? So then Manny would go, okay, this is the song we're gonna use, and then we would get into a studio, and he'd be like, okay, guys, do you remember that sequence from Feel the Swing? And we'd be like, yeah, okay, so let's do that here. Do you guys remember this lift sequence from Ballroomania? Let's do that here. So he basically created everything like on the spot. It was a lot, but it was like four numbers in like a span of like maybe like a month and a half. So it's doable, but it was, yeah, there was a lot.
For
It was a lot.
minors, that's a lot though. For kids, that's a lot to learn
Oh my
and
gosh.
pressure.
Yeah.
And so then you went back to school, and did people see you on that show? And that's when your confidence and you got your groove.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that was definitely part of it. That was definitely part of it for sure. I mean,
Did your
people
teachers
saw,
treat you differently?
actually we had like some of the teachers were cool about it. Some of the teachers were a little like, I felt like they were harder on me
Oh,
because I was maybe gone. And I'll be honest, when I was gone, I was gone. I was gone. I wasn't doing any homework. I wasn't doing anything. I should have been a better student, but I wasn't. I was just very, very, very focused on dance, and I just like didn't really like. I don't know. I just was very passionate. So some of those teachers that kind of like were hard on me were hard because I was lazy, and I should have been a little bit, probably a little less lazy when it came
it
to my schoolwork.
it worked out for you.
Um,
It worked out for you.
they all did. They all did treat me differently. Some of them were like, "Oh my God, Rudy, we saw you on the show. You better work, honey. You were doing so good." I was like, "Thank you, thank you. Don't worry about the homework, girl. Don't you worry about it." I'm like, "Thank you, thank you. Am I getting hundreds?" They're like, "No, they're just incomplete." I'm like, "Ah, okay."
No, no, no. Just yeah. Well, at least that's good. And then
Hey, at least it's not a zero.
yeah, 100%. So then you did. After that, you did. So you think was that right after that, or did you do anything else in between?
So right after that, I graduated high school. I went to college for a
You
semester.
did. Where'd you go?
I went to New World School of the Arts.
Okay, for dance.
Yeah, for dance, for dance. I actually I got a full scholarship to the University of the Arts. When I was 18, I auditioned, and I actually had got a letter of recommendation from Richard, who went to Dancetown, and he got a full scholarship himself. It was called the Director Scholarship, and they give one out to one guy and one girl every year. And I was the guy that they chose for the 2013 scholarship.
Cool.
Um, and I was so honored. And then like God just sometimes has a plan, for you. And April 26th, the day after my 18th birthday, my father had his third heart attack, and it was the day that I was supposed to send in my registration and everything for school. And there was something about all of the stuff that happened, and my dad was in a coma for about 6 days. Came out, everything was fine. Thank God he's much healthier now. But I felt like that was something that God was kind of telling me, like, I need you to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to stay here. Don't go to Philadelphia. I need you to stay here. So I ended up going to New World School of the Arts for 3 months, and the opportunity to go audition for So You Think came from that. And in the 3 months of me being at school and the 3 or 4 months that I had from once I had graduated, I was really grateful because me and my dad had a little bit of a hard time kind of getting close with our relationship because he always wanted me to be a baseball player and I always wanted to be a dancer. So it was always like that. And then this situation happened, and it brought us like, I just like so close. And like my dad is like my best friend now. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Did he get to go watch you on So You Think?
he did. He did. He came and he watched me on So You Think, and how amazing it was 1 year after his heart attack that he was watching me on So You Think live. Like it was just,
When you auditioned, did you audition with contemporary or hip hop or
I
ballroom?
auditioned as a contemporary dancer, and I actually auditioned twice that season. I auditioned in Atlanta and got cut. And what's funny is like
It's
after
crazy.
that
You
whole
got cut and you made
season,
it to the top 10, right?
yeah, I
I
got cut
love
in
that.
Atlanta, and then I auditioned again in Chicago like maybe a month later, and then I made it to Vegas, and then I made it to the top eight.
But
But
that's
when they
so
had to
interesting. So
wrap,
those who did get cut, like, just know that like it's not the end of the world. It could have just been a weird day, or yeah, it's just it's
or honestly,
specifics.
maybe, and you know what? For me it was, I'll be honest, I know what it was for me. When I went to Atlanta, I had like so I had like a full head of hair. I danced with a tank top and like a pair of like Adidas pants. I had like I kind of like was just like I looked like everybody else. Like I looked like just like one in a million. And to be on a show like that, you need to try to stand out, especially when there's 10,000 people auditioning and they're only choosing 30.
Mhm.
You how are you going to stand out between you and the 10,000 other people? So that time in Atlanta, I knew that I didn't stand out. So what did I do? The next time I went, I was like, I need to be Rudy. I need to do something that shows who I am. Because when I went in Atlanta, I tried to be the contemporary dancer that I thought So You Think wanted, you know?
Mhm.
And I said, screw that. I got my mohawk done, which was my haircut back in the day. I got
Hey.
my mohawk done. I went with my shirt off. I got my tattoos done. I changed the style of movement because I was trying to be like a contemporary dancer with like technique or whatever. And I'm like, girl, your technique is good, but your technique is not amazing. So let's not do that. You're a mover. Let's show them what you do. And I went to Chicago and I did that, and the entire outcome changed. The entire thing changed. And I think that's a good message for any dancer that maybe feels like you're auditioning and you're auditioning, or maybe you're trying things and you feel like things aren't going your way. Maybe you need to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't change who you are, but like dive a little deeper into who you are and pull from something else, because maybe that's all it is that you're missing. It's just a little something.
Yeah. And what was like the hardest style that you had to learn on that show for you?
Ah,
I
hip
always
hop.
wish that show had tap dancing as one of the styles because I felt like if you had to learn ballroom, it's just as hard as learning tap.
Hello.
And I think that like tap should have been on that show
And
because
I did ball at Broadway, and they had a 2 count of 8 of tap, and I went down in flames.
it's hard. It's such a hard style, but it's like equally as hard as someone who can't do the raptor
Ballroom.
dance of my ballroom styles. Like it's the same. It's just different. And if you can do hip hop, I think you can do tap because it's both very rhythmic. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you, my hardest one was hip hop.
Oh, really?
It
Huh.
was because I feel like being a studio dancer, like my first hip hop teacher, my first dance teacher ever was Calvin Hodge. I don't know if you know who Calvin Hodge is, but he's the choreographer and one of the directors for Camila Cabello. And he's just, I mean, the guy has done so much. But I learned from him for like a year, 2 years. And then after that, like it was like a lot of studio hip hop.
Mhm.
And I think what's,
Did you have
amazing
to wear
now
those
about
block shoes?
studios. You said what?
Did you have to wear those black block shoes that had the big soles on
Yeah,
both sides?
exactly. Exactly. Like the studio hip hop is just so different. You know what I mean? It's so different than industry hip hop. So like when I got into doing So You Think, and my choreographer was Dave Scott, who's like he has his own pocket, he has his own way of teaching, his own way of, all right, you got to go boom, you got boom, boom, and it's not like, all right, so it's 1 and 2. It's completely different. So the language barrier was like me trying to learn, Chinese, and I was like, no, like I can't do that. So it was, I mean, it was hard, but that's why I think also studios now, I mean, they're doing so good with expanding their like vocabulary in hip hop, because now it's not about studio hip hop. They are really like, you know, showing these kids, okay, this is the type of movement you're gonna need to do if you want to be in the industry,
Yeah,
you know?
it is a very different type of hip hop. Yeah, you're 100% right. So, how did you because you danced now or have been before COVID, I guess, for J Lo, correct?
Yeah, so I've been dancing for J Lo since I was 20, 19,
And
19, 20.
what is that style of dance typically? Is that hip hop
Hip hop.
ballroom?
It's very hip hop.
How did you
Very, very
grow
hip hop.
from it being your hardest style to learn to like what did you do? What did like so if I'm in a small town right now and I'm taking hip hop classes and they're not what I'm seeing in the music videos, it's a great class, but I'm learning the it by counts, not necessarily by like beats. Then how do you expand that vocabulary?
Well, I think for me, like with that, I think, there's so many outlets now, especially like with online learning, like CLI, like dance tutorials online, like all these different things that, or all these different websites that offer this sort of fundamental training. I'd say trying to like find the right classes online might be the best way to expand your vocabulary. And also, like, one thing that I think is very overlooked is like people want, sorry,
That's so New York. You're in New York right now, right?
yeah,
And we
I'm
get
in.
planes where I live in LA, and you get trains.
Yeah, yeah. Planes in LA, room right
Yeah.
over, trains right next to us.
Yeah.
Um, but I was saying, like, I think one thing that people really do look over when it comes to like training in hip hop, which I wish I would have done sooner in my career, is like the basics. Like, if you can like take the basics, like the basic fundamental training of popping, locking, waving, everything, all of those things, I think it's gonna help you when you get into a Luther Brown class, or when you get into a Rhapsody James, or when you get into a Luam, or when you get into, a Candace Brown, because they have their own vocabulary of movement. But I think what has created their vocabulary of movement is how advanced they are with their fundamentals. And a lot of people want to be like that, but they don't want to take the same steps. So I'd say, like, if you want to expand that sort of vocabulary of hip hop movement, is trying to find the right fundamental classes that'll get you there. And I'm telling you, online right now is where it's at. You can find all the classes from everybody online,
Because most things are still shut down in New York and LA. So you have an abundance of amazing choreographers who are used to doing these crazy shows, who have the time to go back and help kids. And I think most dancers always want to give back to studios. It's not that they're against studios or anything, because I do think some people think there's like a culture, like war type idea between studio dancing and like professional dancers. But
Oh, no.
honestly, all people who make it, most of them came from studios, and those,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that they competed, but they learned in their local dance studio, and so they're always wanting to give back. It's just that they don't have the time or the resources.
I didn't even know that there was that sort of beef between that. Like,
Some
I
studios
didn't
just
even know.
think that yeah, that they're two different things, you know what I mean, because they
I
think
don't
that
think
it's
that at
like,
all. I
no, me
don't think
neither.
that at all. I feel like without my studio doing, because maybe the type of dancing is a little different. Like, for example, when you are doing competition, the focus is to win, where when you're training someone to be a professional, it's not about winning. It's about like creating a lane for them to be successful for the rest of their career,
Mhm.
right? It's not about if they win or if they lose. So what I think though is that the studio is detrimental, because you need the fundamentals that you learn in that space to be a professional. So I don't even
Yeah,
know
you need the
why or
discipline of
how
it.
that can even be a thing, because some of the most incredible dancers that I've hired on jobs come from studios.
And you have your own company now, right?
I have my own company,
It's contemporary.
Embodiment and Radiance, actually.
And what are they? Like, how would you describe those to people who don't know what they are?
So are a basically a one-off, um, like based company. So we work based off of the jobs that we get, right? So like, we had our the last thing we've done, which it's been kind of a little while because of COVID and everything,
Mhm.
was our show. We did a 1 hour show last year, to start 2020, and then COVID kind of like hit, and the company has been on a little bit of a break since. We actually got to do Carnival, anniversary Carnival,
Mhm.
this past, what was it, February, I believe. So we got back together a little bit for that. But so yeah, so we're just like a event by event type company. Um, and yeah, I mean, I tell you, the cast that I have in this company. I mean, I have some of the most incredible, most hardworking, most professional dancers like in the industry. I'm honestly just so grateful to have these type of dancers still on my side. They're amazing.
How
They're
would
all
you
so good.
describe your style of dance? Like, how would you, like, when you create, what would you describe it as?
Um, I would describe my style of dance as, like, I would just say, like, I'm authentic. I would say, like, if there's like
But not
one
tap
way,
dancing.
you know what I mean? Huh?
It's not tap though, right?
No. Not with tap. I can fake that though.
What was your worst style of dance that you ever had to grow up to? Like I twirled baton. Why? But that was offered at our studio. So it's
I
like
mean, the worst type of
took
dancing,
everything.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I was
For
pretty bad
you.
at like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty bad at ballroom for like a while.
It's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard.
And like, like I told you, I was very awkward growing up. So like, yeah, be sexy. I'm like, what?
I still can't do it.
More like be awkward.
I remember, yeah, anytime I've danced for people who are they're like, we want you to be sexy. I'm like, what? Okay, I've always had to do a character in my mind of what I basically make fun of. In my mind, this is how I do it. Well, not anymore, but when I was in my 20s, I would make fun of other girls that I thought were overly sexy in their dances, and then I would make fun of them, and then I would get the job. But I wouldn't tell them I was making fun of them. I just like basically was like, I'm gonna be that girl because she's crazy. And then I would be
Sounds
like,
good.
and then they'd be like, we love you. I would be laughing on the inside, like, oh,
Like,
if you only knew I was being that girl. I don't know who she is, but I just took
better
her spot
embody
by
that,
being,
girl.
yeah, I was just being her, and she didn't get it because I was pretending to be her better than she was, I guess. I don't know. So stupid. Oh, fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it.
Hey, that's what I say. Fake it till you make it, and you probably make it pretty far.
It's true. It's very true. What is like the craziest audition process you've ever done?
um, like done as a dancer or as a choreographer?
Ooh, either way, whatever you prefer.
Well, I'd probably say like the craziest I've ever done as a choreographer would be like I got to choreograph a show for, or I got to be a choreographer for a show for Jolin Tsai, who is a Taiwanese artist. She's like the J Lo of Taiwan. This lady is humongous. They are sold out every night, and they have like 15,000 people, and they're still going on right now. Like in Taiwan, there are no COVID cases, so it's like crazy. But so I got to run the audition, and that was pretty crazy because you know, I think being in LA is a pretty toxic place because you get a lot of people who like, love you, a lot of people who will hate you, and then a lot of people who will say they love you but actually hate you, and will say they hate you but they actually love you. And when you get put in a position like this, which this was actually one of the first times I had like been put in that position to really like run a big professional audition, you see everybody and you're in the front of the room. So you're like, hey, what's up, everybody? How are you? I hope all of you love me today because guess what? We're about to be doing some Rudy Abreu steps, And I would say that's pretty crazy because when you get put in a room with like a bunch of different people and maybe your emotions are going on, a bunch of different directions, you need to learn how to like obviously be super professional, compose all of those emotions, and just be like, okay, here we are. Um, but yeah, I'd say that was probably like the craziest one for me. Um,
Oh,
just like having a lot of like uh, what's the word? Pressure.
what?
Um,
Okay, so let's say I'm a dancer, right? And I've gotten a few gigs, but I really want to be a choreographer. How do you
mhm.
jump from being a backup dancer, or what, depending on the style of dance, to being a choreographer for the style that you like? What would you say is?
Well, number one, I mean, I just think like connections. Like that's what keeps me working is the connections that I have with people, like the Square Division, Napoleon and Tabitha. That's my family right there, like, and they have helped me from the beginning. So like they didn't know I wanted to choreograph until I said something to them.
Mhm.
So that's another thing. Is just like if you want to choreograph and people don't know you want to choreograph, you have to be vocal about it. Hey, I want to help you. Is there anything you guys have that are coming that's coming up that maybe you will need an extra hand? Um, Let me know. I'd love to help. Now, here's one thing that I will say: a lot of people uh, are too egotistical and will not put their and I will say I used to be like this myself. Thank God for quarantine and like being
You
able
learned
to
it this
like
year.
reflect. You know, um, but I'll tell you, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I don't want to like do this choreography job because the rate is too low or because they're not paying me or because this and that. Listen, in the end of the day, to get to that point, you're gonna have to like suck it up a little bit. You're gonna have to suck it up a little bit, do the free jobs,
You need a
do
proof of
the,
concept.
do the yeah. I mean, that's the only
You need a
way.
reel, you need a resume. Yeah.
And listen, and this is the way I see it too. If like this is what happened to me. Napoleon and Tabitha asked me a long time ago when I first moved out to LA. J Lo. This was before I even was dancing for J Lo. J Lo is singing in this animation movie called Home 2. We need 5 dancers. We have no pay. Will you do it for free? And me, I had just moved to LA. It was like the third day that I was in LA. I was like, hell yeah. I walked in there, I danced it, I helped them choreograph a little bit of it. And the next thing you know, 2 weeks later, they booked me on Derek and Julianne Hough's tour. I was choreographing this opening number for Jackie Chung's world tour through them. And like, I just think sometimes you need to put yourself out there and let people know, hey, this is what I want to do. And it will come your way.
And the dance
Because
industry is so small that like if you do someone a favor, they'll remember it. You know what I mean? And
and
by
they'll
doing
share it to other people. It's a networking thing too. And if you do a good job, they will always like this is one thing I tell everybody. When you get on there, or this is what I tell my students, if you get an opportunity and it's your first time, right? You need to leave an impression that makes these people that makes the people on the other side go, wow, I never want to do another job without this person
Mhm.
because they make me work my best. You have to bring good energy. You need to be creative. You need to be sharp on the spot. You need to be quick and you need to be open. You need to be open to what people have to say to you because that's another thing. People get in that opportunity and they forget it's an opportunity. They forget.
Yeah, I agree
You know what
completely.
I mean?
And I also think that people need to remember people are going to have to spend weeks and months with you, right? So you have to be fun to be around.
They gotta like
Like
you,
you
girl.
can't.
They gotta like
No
you.
one wants to room with the stinky kid. No one wants to room with the depressive, like always sad, woe is me person. Like you have to genuinely be yourself. I'm not saying not be yourself, but also like
But what you bring
likable.
has to be authentic and it needs to attract good energy that is worth working with for a long period of time.
Right, for sure.
You know?
Okay, I'm going to ask you 5 random questions that I ask everybody. You can give them short, you can give them long answers, however you want. These are 5 questions that people always ask me to ask guests. So then now I'm just stapling them in every time. Who's
Uh-huh.
your favorite singer to dance to, if you had to pick one?
My favorite singer to dance to, shoot. Oh my gosh, right now?
These are hard.
Because I feel like it always changes. I like, I don't know.
Today in March,
Yeah, huh?
today, who would you dance to?
Let me hold on.
Because
Let me
it
look
could
at my
change. It's like,
Spotify
what's
real
your
quick.
favorite color? Like, it could change today
My,
or tomorrow.
my favorite color is red,
That's not one of
but
the questions, though. Just for the. Oh, good. I'm glad red and those shoes. That's great.
you know what I mean? No, wait, they were headphones, by the way.
Oh, I thought you said shoes. Okay.
They were Dr. Dre headphones.
How terrible of a listener am I, everybody?
Oh, it's uh, I mean, I really like to improv to like, I really like to dance to Drake, and I really like to dance to like Foggy Raw. Um, I really like Tate McRae's music right now.
Okay,
I think she's amazing, and honestly, like, I'm like, hello,
cool.
someone hire me as a choreographer.
All
I'm just
right. We're
kidding.
putting it out there, everybody.
Yeah. Nah, her choreographer is sickening. I don't want to take nobody's job.
No, but sometimes you need more than one.
Hey,
Yeah, what is your favorite music video of all time?
my favorite music video of all time. Oh, is probably Michael Jackson's Do You Remember the Time When We Fell in Love? That's a good one.
Did you learn it as a kid?
No,
You're just like, that's okay.
no, I just loved it. I also liked I'm so caught up. And I just used to love it because it was like a little like a love story. And like when I was a child, I like had a crush on this girl, and I was like, if I was Usher, like I would sing this song to this girl.
I love it. I love it. What's your favorite after a show food?
After show food.
Yeah, like after you've done a big
Um,
performance.
like that's good. I mean, it depends. Like, cause after J Lo, like I would normally like not eat too heavy because I would be like, oh, I'm gonna throw up. So I would have like a salad or maybe like like salmon, something like that. Nothing too heavy. I like to have something kind of healthy when I'm done eating. Now I will say if like I ate maybe like an hour and a half before the show and I'm not really that hungry after the show and I wait like 2 hours, I'll go in. I'll have like a double cheeseburger with some French fries, maybe.
That sounds good. That sounds good. What's the most difficult trick you've ever had to learn for a dance job?
Uh so so when we were dancing for J Lo, we learned this whole number to my love don't cost a thing.
Thing, thing, thing,
And
thing.
like 2 days later, they're like, all right, everybody, here are your airboards. Your what? You know those airboards, the hoverboards that you get on and you gotta balance and stuff?
But that doesn't touch
Yeah.
the ground?
Yeah, yo, so we learned this whole number walking, and I was like, yo, what the heck is this? Like, this is so easy. I'm gonna be walking the whole time. They brought us airboards and I am like, when I tell you the worst when it comes to bicycles, scooters, airboard, tricycles, anything, skateboard, anything like that. No, girl, I'm walking. So they needed me to learn how to do that, and it took me longer than everybody else, but on the first show, everybody besides me fell off their hoverboard. So I was like, yes. Thank you, everybody.
That's awesome. Um, that's really cool. Did you get to keep it?
No, I
Oh,
was so mad about it too.
I would assume
And
you.
I'll tell you, I hit up like a bunch of different hoverboard um, brands, like the off-brand ones, whatever. I was like, "Hi, I'm Rudy Abreu. I dance for J Lo. We use these all the time in our show. Like, is there any way I could get one for free?" And they'd be like, "No." They're like,
No,
"You can get it
ask.
for 15% off." I'm like, "Dang."
No, no. Last question for this round of questions. If you had to have a different job other than dance, could not be dance related, what would you be?
I would either be a policeman or I would be a chef.
Wow. Okay. What? Let's talk about policemen first. What kind of policeman? Like
I
what?
don't know. I want to be like DEA.
Okay. All right.
I don't know why. I just like have kind of always like my older brother was a state trooper. Or one of my older brothers was a state trooper, and I was always kind of just like
He was or
inspired.
is? Okay.
Was he actually now he owns his own security business, so like his own, like, yeah, he has his own security company. And it's what's funny is his company has actually been hired by J Lo's team to
Cool.
secure. Yeah, so I've seen him on a couple jobs and stuff. It's been really cool.
Has he protected you yet?
He has protected me.
I
How funny. So
never.
like, yeah, I would say definitely probably that. I think is,
What kind
you
of
know,
chef?
I'm all about, protecting and stuff. And then I would say a chef because my best friend Nick is actually a chef. And my like Nick from So You Think actually works for like a Michelin star restaurant in LA.
Wow.
And
Where?
yeah, it's
I gotta
I don't
go.
remember
You
what
can
it's
message me.
called.
I gotta go.
I'm gonna tell you what it's called.
Because restaurants are open
I'm
now.
gonna
We
tell
can
you what it's
go
called right
inside.
now.
Take your time. Nick, I'm coming.
And he's like, I mean, the guy is a super chef.
You
Like
guys lived together though for a while, right?
we did for 3 or 4 years. It's called Fellow Los Angeles.
Fellow Los Angeles, shout
I'm
out.
just gonna show you through this Skype so you can see some of the things that he like makes.
Oh wow, he's showing us pictures of some fancy food,
Super
small
fancy.
portions, big plates. It'll keep me skinny. It looks like, which I appreciate.
So like he inspired me a little bit with that, and I've been kind of dabbling into the cooking, and I kind of like it. So I maybe would be that. I also maybe would be a musician or like a composer because I'm really passionate about music. So three completely different things, but you know. There you go.
That's very cool. Did he used to cook for you all the time when you guys lived together?
Well, actually, he started cooking like towards the end of
Mm.
when we were living together. So I got a little bit, and then like didn't get the best of it. But I was just in LA choreographing an industrial with Nappy Tabs, and I saw him for one day. And the one day that I saw him, he did make me a little something, and it was amazing.
PB&J.
No, it was PB, peanut butter, jelly, and banana.
Nice,
It was
nice.
like a little extra. Nah, I'm just
I
kidding.
like
It
that. I
was
like
like
that.
some pulled pork type thing. It was amazing.
That sounds good. That sounds
Yeah.
really good. So, if you had to give advice to anybody on like how to chase their dreams, what would you say? Do you have to live in LA or New York anymore?
I don't think you do. And I'll be honest, I moved out of LA in when like COVID kind of started happening because the Edge closed down and Mel closed down. I wasn't really working a lot. I was just kind of doing online classes and I was like, you know what, like let me like try something else. So I came to Jersey and I've been working at a studio called Studio L.
Mm-hmm.
There's four locations. So I kind of direct some of the stuff with Kelly and Nicole and Jamie and Tyler and whatever. And so I left and I truly believe that you don't like need to be in New York or in LA to like
But for the
make
networking part of it,
it
maybe when
happen.
you're beginning, or no?
You said what?
For the networking purpose of it in the beginning?
That's what I was gonna say. Like I do think there is an advantage, the networking and the social media part of it, but like I don't know. I feel like social media is like so big now that like you can live in Atlanta and like people in LA will book you because they see your stuff online, you know?
What do
But
you
I
say to
think
people
the
who have
biggest
to have so many TikTok followers or whatever? Because I've heard younger dancers say, I just got an audition and they just wanted me to do this TikTok dance, which is
yeah,
like,
it's
do you
crazy.
consider that dance? What do you consider? I'm on the gray of like, that to me is such a cookie cutter like video game form of dance. I love that people are dancing and I love that they're moving. I'm talking about making it a
Yeah.
career. I'm not talking about having a great time and doing these videos. I think that's super fun for people.
Well, if I'm being honest with you, like if we're about to go in right now.
Yeah.
Um, so right after So You Think, I got asked to do like this thing with Dance On and a couple different like with my YouTube page, and it was and I don't know. I have always, and I use my Instagram and I do create content and this and that, but I create content because I love what I do and it comes from an authentic place, which is why I don't create content all the time.
Hmm.
I don't create come mierda. You know what I mean? I don't try to create BS. I try to create things that mean something to me. When I think of TikTok and I think of YouTube, the YouTube choreographers and dancers and people who have, now I'm not saying all, because I have seen certain choreographers that go through YouTube that are successful that I can feel create from an authentic place. But the problem that I have is that I believe that dance and art takes time to process, takes time to create, takes time to develop. And creating something in 2 seconds and then that becoming a viral thing and now you're making all this money and doing all it's not dance, it's not art, it's not there's no substance to that. And I like have never fallen into that. And even that's why now, like at this point in my career, people are still like, Rudy, like where's your YouTube, like what are you doing with your Instagram, like why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? And I'm like, because I just like don't want to invalidate all of the work and all of the substance that I've put into what I do. Um, I really like it's like a whole thing for me. I really can't
I
stand
feel
that.
I can't do TikTok dances
I
either.
can't.
Like
I can't.
it's hard.
I tried. And I'll be honest. I tried. And I don't know, man. I just feel like nowadays we live in a society where people want to be famous and they want to be successful very quickly.
Hmm.
Very quickly, which goes back to what we were saying earlier, that a lot of people want to be, this good at hip hop. What kind
Hip
of
hop.
they want to be this good at hip hop, but they don't want to take the fundamental classes and the steps that is needed to get to that level of, dancing. And I think with when we talk about TikTok, when we talk about YouTube, even like with some YouTube choreographers that are really big in LA and YouTube dancers that are really big in LA, I'm like, damn, like that got 950,000 views. And that is probably like the most garbage choreo I've ever seen in my life, or like the most garbage dancing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just like, what are people so attracted to? Because I don't understand. Like I really don't know why it's such a movement. Um,
Maybe they haven't seen other forms of choreography, and or because I do think like music videos are not as cool as they used to be.
no,
So
no,
you're
not at
losing that
all,
style of
not at
dance.
all, at all, at all. And like there are still like a lot of like for example, I think of like, let's go like to Ian Eastwood. He is an innovator. The guy is a genius. He is amazing. And he has built himself off of YouTube. But that guy has always been authentic and real with his vocabulary, with his context of movement, what he's trying to say through his dancing. You can tell he's like taking the time to develop.
Hmm.
Where a lot of people, it's not like that, and they're just putting it out for the views, for the followers, for the hype, for the clout. And that's where dancing and art has kind of gone left. And we've like I don't know, just kind of like, ugh, like I don't know.
What do you hope for? Like, what do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? No, like what if you could future have any any kind of dance career? You already have an amazing dance career, but is there something that like is there someone you've always wanted to dance for, or a show you've always wanted to choreograph, or something like that?
I would love to choreograph for Dua Lipa.
Okay.
I would love to dance and choreograph for Dua Lipa, like, and it's like weird because that's not my like type of music or movement.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would like to do is break the like idea that like my movement can be done to like that type of music or with that type of pop artist, because I don't know, I see my stuff on big stages. I see my stuff on the AMAs, I see my stuff on the VMAs. And I don't want it to be restricted to, okay, like he can only do like a contemporary artist. No, I want to be able to do contemporary movement to hip hop artists, to pop artists, to Latin artists, to this and that, you
That'd be
know.
cool. That'd be really cool to watch too. It wouldn't be as the same because it's the crawling.
Which is why I feel like, if you look at any of my class work, or if you look at any of my stuff, it always changes. There's always like
And for
one
those
day it's
listening,
this,
I have
one day it's
taken
that.
Rudy's class and I cannot do contemporary. I'm also older and I took his class at the Edge, gosh, a few years ago. And I just remember him being like, roll on the floor and be up in one count. I was like, that's cute.
Ow.
Yeah, that's cute. I'm not doing that. But I also think, like, and this podcast is for everybody. Like, you don't have to want to be a dancer. And also, even if you want to be a dancer, there's so many other avenues of dance. You don't have to be a dancer for JLo. Like there are a million different kinds of dancers in the world. You know, you could be a
Going back
studio
to
owner, a
TikTok, like
teacher.
you can be a TikTok dancer. That's not. I'm
Yeah,
not saying that you can't be a TikTok dancer. I'm just saying
it's not for you.
it's not this. Yeah, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like like you're saying, there are
Well,
types
it's
of
like
dancers.
movies. There are movies that are inspirational that like really, gut you. And then there are cookie cutter movies that still are
Exactly.
blockbuster hits. It's not one isn't necessarily better than the other, but to certain people they feel better for
Different.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just different.
Yeah, they're just different. What would you? Is there any story that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about, or is there any piece of advice that you could want to give to anybody or anything like that that's listening?
I just think like I mean, the best piece of advice I can give right now is, what I'm learning in my journey and my process of, becoming even a, more established choreographer and more established creative director and dancer is, you know, stay true to who you are always, because who you are is going to attract the people that need your work, that need your energy, that need, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to be something that I wasn't, and saw connections and relationships kind of like sizzle away, and work sizzle away. But the reason why it sizzled away was because I continued to try to be something that I wasn't. And now that I am, um, showing that, hey, I'm, this is who I am, I start to see more and more work, more and more connections flow through. And not even more work and more connections, but the right work, the right connections, the right type of stuff. Um, so that's the best piece of advice I can give really to anybody listening is please do not water down yourself for anybody. Always be 150% authentically you, not just in who you are and what you say, but in what you create and what you put out.
Everything you just said, and I don't know why it reminded me of this, but if you know Fortnite, the kid who invented the Orange Justice dance, like, what? And I don't know if you know that story. So there's this kid, and there's that Orange Justice dance where they flop their hands around, right? They had a search for like a new dance for Fortnite, and he sent it in, and it didn't get picked because everyone was like, it's ridiculous. But the fans loved his. You could see his passion for dance in his room. So, and he was like in his bedroom, like it's just like this cute little video. And then this dance became a hit where a lot of kids were doing it. And so, like, there is a world where as long as you're being true to yourself, you can create something that inspires other people to want to move like you or to want to move in other ways, which I think is really cool.
Truth.
Yeah. Well, Rudy, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
So they can
Don't tell
find
us your
me.
address. Don't tell us your address.
Well, you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Rudy Abreu. You can also find me on, I think that's basically it. I mean, I have a Twitter, but I never really use it. My Twitter is Dance11Rudy. Um,
And are you
like I
teaching
said, I
classes
don't really
online
post on
right now? If
YouTube.
someone wanted to take a class from you, is there a way that they could right now?
Oh yeah, if you want to take a class from me, I teach every Friday, online on Zoom, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's an hour and a half class, and you can check that out on my website, which is rudyabreu.info.
And
Um,
Abreu is Abreu. Because if
yes,
I was at 8 watching this, I would be like, how do I spell that?
Abreuie.
There's an E after the U?
No,
Oh.
no, that's just normally how people spell it when they don't know my last
Oh,
name.
I
They're
was.
like, Abraeue.
Oh, they just
I'm
made
like,
Abreu like a brew. Like, that's such a
exactly.
long word.
uh, how funny.
Well, cool. I'm glad you're doing well and that everything is looking up, especially with hopefully the lockdown is going to get lifted even more so and that everyone is staying healthy in the dance world. But yeah, I think dance is such an important thing, especially right now, to remind people to keep their passions going. And exercise is also very important.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much, Kim, for having me. And I really appreciate it. Yeah, exercise, very important. Make sure everyone stays healthy.
Yeah. All right. Bye. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.